change the things around you. Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation? Oh, let it move inside of you.
Was that your beautiful voice?
Yes, that was Linda.
Wow.
But welcome, beautiful souls, to Infinite Perspectives, where voices become vision. I'm Michelle Diamond, CEO of Next Level Promotion, public relations strategist, and co-founder of Infinite Perspectives brand. And I'm joined by my co-host and co-founder, the radiant Linda Boston. Linda?
Thank you, Michelle. I am Linda Boston. I'm a performing, literary, and teaching artist who requires everyone to be the change that they are seeking.
Absolutely. Love it. Well, as you guys know, Infinite Perspectives is proudly brought to you by Peer Incorporated, Next Level Promotion, Carlotta Cole the Brand, Moniker Enterprises, and Unlimited Networks Property Management. Tonight's conversation is not about entertainment. It's about truth remembered, about voice reclaimed, about storytelling, not as performance, but as liberation. Tonight, we are deeply honored to welcome a cultural force whose work reminds us that stories don't just reflect our lives, they shape them. Satori Shakoor is a dynamic storyteller, multidisciplinary artist, and social entrepreneur whose journey spans music, theater, comedy, and cultural stewardship. She began her career as a recording artist, touring with George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic as one of the legendary brides of Funkenstein. Before expanding into acting, comedy, and television writing, and as a founding member of the Obsidian Theatre Company in Toronto, she not only helped establish one of Canada's leading culturally diverse theatre institutions, she embodied it. In 2011, Satori stepped fully into storytelling, becoming a celebrated Moth mainstage storyteller and host with appearances on PBS, NPR, and global stages, just to name a few. She is the founder and curator of the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, a sacred space where truth, memory, and community converge. And in 2024, she emceed the Kresge Centennial event where President Barack Obama delivered the keynote address. But beyond all these beautiful accolades, Satori's work is about remembering who we are through story.
Yes.
Satori, welcome back to Infinite Perspectives. We are truly honored to hold space with you again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back and be in the company of you brilliant women.
Oh,
Gratitude.
thank you, Satori. You know, you've been an inspiration to me over these many years that you've been doing Twisted Storytellers, and it has moved me to write and to create story of truth and magnificence. And so your artistic journey, as it began in music, touring and performing, living inside rhythm, what did sound teach you about timing, truth, and the emotional memory?
Well, sound, when you step on stage in front of a live audience, they are the other half of the conversation. So what the sounds that they make, the grunts, the groans, the laughter, the pin drop silences, the shout outs, all of these are whole dialogues that that make you fully present in their presence and have you be able to connect. You know you're connecting. So sound is very important. And coming from a musical background, musical discipline, sound trains the ear,
Yes.
trains the ear to be sensitive to pitch, to what you take in orally or orally, that moves you, that touches different places in your body. And so it's very important. In fact, it's key.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
about
Yes.
So it adds to that truth and emotional memory just by being sound.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And the absence of sound
Ah,
is very informative too,
yes.
because I know there are times when I've stood on stage and said something that would and then I would notice that I could hear a pin drop, that there was no movement, that the audience was breathing with me. They were leaning forward, waiting for my next word, and they didn't dare do anything to not hear that next word. And that was something very different for me as a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
It was edifying. It
Mm-hmm.
was spiritual in a way because we didn't have to speak. And I know both of you have been in relationships where it wasn't necessary to chatter, that you could just be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Very true. I love that. Thank you for breaking that down for us, especially with, using a metaphor with relationships and how that relates to us. And, this way that thought process could resonate. And what I wanted to pose to you about storytelling, when did you realize that not music alone was the medium that allowed you to speak fully and freely?
I think I was a child. I do remember my stepmother. She told stories.
Mm-hmm.
She was a master storyteller. She could make me believe that there was some kind of dinosaur or something in the mailbox. So when she put the letter in, it would snatch it out. I mean, she could mesmerize me with stories, and I just hung on her every word.
Yeah.
And so she would teach little things like Paul Laurence Dunbar, lies, lies. Bless the Lord. Don't you know the days of old? Now, if you don't get up from there, you scamp, there's going to be trouble in this here camp. And she would recite the whole poem. And so when I got to the 8th grade, and I kind of like had a big hormonal 8th grade crush on my history teacher, who looked like a well-suited up Cro-Magnon man. I was completely crushed out on him. He asked us to say a poem. So I practiced that poem because I wanted to impress him. And I told the poem to the class, and they loved it. And he wrote a big A on my paper and told my mother, I think she could teach the class. So I realized that words or speaking didn't necessarily have to have melody. But if you listen very close to our speaking, especially if we're vocalist singers, there is melody in the way that we speak. There's a rhythm, an inherent rhythm in the way we talk. And that's what we want to capture on the page and on the stage. Our own unique rhythm lends itself to what it means to have your own voice.
So true.
Yeah, because rhythm lives in the body and story lives in the soul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that, Linda.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Satori, when we are thinking about the birth of Twisted Storytellers, the secret society of Twisted Storytellers, it's just not an event. It's more of a movement. What would you say inspired you to create it? And why was Detroit the soil it needed?
Well, it was 2010, 2011. I was touring the country with the Moth, as you mentioned. And I then became very present to the fact that storytelling was my calling. That I had lost my mother, and 9 months later I'd lost my son. And I had never told that story because I didn't know whether I would be able to tell that story because I had not tested my grief in public on stage with people. And when I began to tell that story, I instantly felt the compassion, the understanding, the embrace of the audience. And as that was occurring, I began to understand, oh, I'm on the path of healing. That in telling the story, it was now out of my body and out there where other people could take a little piece of my grief and give it back to me as, I understand.
Yes.
Thank you for telling that. And so as I began to distance from the pain, I began to be able to tell that story more powerfully because I wasn't afraid that I was going to break down or have a nervous breakdown, that I could now use the story in the service of others.
Yeah.
So I began to see that storytelling was actually a service that you give other people in the telling. But then as I began to move along through the years, because this is our 14th year, you never stop learning what it is, you know. And so I realized, oh, the story listener is the soulmate of the storyteller. Without the listener, there's no reason to tell the story. And so the listener gives the storyteller power. It also gives the listener a service as well to provide. Because when you're listening, you're actually granting being to another human being because it's a voluntary experience. It's not just letting words or sounds enter your ear and disappear into the ethers. It's actually you have to give up something to truly listen to another person. You have to give up your judgments. You have to give up while they're speaking. Do I agree with them? Do I disagree with them?
Right.
Oh, I reject what they're saying because they're this or they're that. You have to give up all of those assessments and just be with the human being up there. It's really a revolutionary act at the end of the day. And if you're able to accomplish it, it's love. It really becomes an act of love to truly listen to someone else. Because we're often looking and performing that we're listening, but we're actually waiting to interject our point of view. No, that's not true.
So
Right.
I love that.
Which
yes.
that makes that very different difference between a good listener and one that's not so good. You know, you have to listen. The word twisted carries power though. So what does it mean in your work and why is it essential to telling the truth? I've always wanted to know why it was the twisted story.
Twisted means human.
Yes.
You
I
know,
love that.
because and the story, telling the story unravels our humanity. So and because our lives, our thinking, our stories, our paths are long and winding, twisted roads.
Yes.
And to make meaning of it, to make sense of it, we have to unravel the twists and turns. But the twists and turns are what makes the journey so interesting, because with every twist and turn, there's a reward, there's a challenge, there's something we've never encountered before. It demands something of us.
Yeah.
And so it's the twisted story, the human storytellers.
Well, you've got some new twists happening with the organization. You've got a young lady by the name of Victoria Jefferson that's joined your team.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about her so that we can feel very welcomed with her.
Well, for 2 years, maybe 3 years, I had been contemplating and wanting to create a succession plan, you know, because I wanted to have new blood enter the organization, and I wanted to go on to do other things creatively. And being the executive director of the nonprofit, which is an administrative sort of role, it took up a lot of time. And so the producing of the storytelling and facilitating storytelling workshops, writing, all these things were kind of compromised a little bit. Mm-hmm. So last year, I took a course, and the course was the win is in taking the action, not getting stuck in your considerations. Oh, they're going to say no. I don't know. And you get stuck there. And really, the win happens with the action. So she had already been working with the organization as our front of house manager and as our media person. And she's also my husband's niece.
Okay.
And so I recognized immediately, first of all, she is so smart, so intelligent. She runs operations with the company she works for in life. And I didn't want to ask her because I didn't want her to say no, because I couldn't think of anybody more perfect than her.
Right.
And so after that course, I did the homework and I asked her, and she goes, "Oh, this is just the right time. I'm ready to change." So we went through training, and she took over the role January 1st. And I'm still right there. I got her back until it becomes a rhythm for her. But now I can go on and do, I'm taking a screenwriting class because I got so much writing, and I want to turn it into I want to turn it into episodes that I can put on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working with Interlocking.
Well, yeah.
Screenwriting class.
And then you've got your award from Eli Lilly.
Yes. Well, Christ Church of Cranbrook here in the Detroit area. They've worked with the Eli Lilly Foundation before, and there was an opportunity for this grant. So Father Bill contacted me. I didn't know him. I was kind of skeptical because a lot of people call, and sometimes it's good and sometimes they're looking for an opportunity to take advantage of you. Yeah. So I said, let me talk to Father Bill. And by the time we concluded our conversation, I was very much enrolled in his project. He said he had been watching the Twisted Storytellers for years. So we had 3 meetings that we were the group was to attend and offer our ideas and our thinking about, to go into the grant. And the group is just so diverse. The intellect is so challenging and so refreshing and nourishing to my intellect. And so we began that journey. And then when he came to the show in November, he said, "I think we got the grant." They called to ask me a question. I said, "Okay, you got the grant if they called you to ask you a question."
Yes.
So we met yesterday for the first time as a group to attend a storytelling workshop about health and healing. One of the facilitators is a medical doctor, and the other one is a PhD. So they've been together 10 years facilitating workshops that tell the stories of patients.
Right.
Because they discovered that doctors don't really have time to spend the kind of time they need with the patient to get to know them. So anyway, they do these workshops. So we all came together, and we have homework, which I'm very excited to do the homework. It's like, tell the story of this. Okay, I already have that. Let me get my phone.
I love that, and congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm one of the pieces of the puzzle. PBS Detroit will produce the show,
love that.
Film it, and air it. I'm going to be curating the Storytellers. I'm going to be a consultant because I've produced Twisted for years. Mm-hmm. And I'll be working with the Storytellers in shaping their stories of faith in Detroit. Now, I'm not a Christian myself. And of course, I made that clear at the very beginning. But I also challenged them with the question, do stories of faith, redemption, and resilience, are those human stories? Are they Christian stories exclusively? Or are they human stories that just spans humanity?
Yes.
Yeah.
So their goal and objective is to tell stories that you don't normally hear, because the pulpit has parameters and
Yes.
about what you can share as story, and you're kind of restricted to maybe biblical lessons. So we're going to be telling stories that you may not normally hear, but the people who are telling the stories are heroes, or they've overcome some challenges that any human being might encounter.
You know what you said that was very interesting when you were saying that the gentleman watched Twisted Stories for years, watched you without you knowing it, probably.
Exactly.
And that's something that our listeners need to realize. You never know who's watching.
Someone is always watching.
Always.
You're always auditioning. You don't think about it. It's not your intention. I'm going to go out here and audition. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you know this is an opportunity and I'm going to show up and I'm going to create. But most of the time you're just living. And this goes for personal relationships too.
Yes.
A lot of women want to know, well, where's my husband at? Oh, he's watching. He's watching you.
Right. So true.
My husband watched me for 8 months before he even approached me.
Yes.
I was kind of embarrassed that he knew so much about me and I knew nothing about him. I was like, oh my God, oh, you know that?
Yeah.
What am I doing up there?
Right. I truly love that. And just to piggyback, because Linda took it right out of my mouth when she talked about you never know who's watching you. And it just shows the alignment. And I truly enjoy this sacred space and this energy that we're meshing so well together, and being able to just present you again to the audience and for them to truly understand what it means. And my question goes back to when you mentioned about the word twisted and meaning to unravel. And when Linda brought up you never know who's listening, the question I want to pose is, how does creating intentional space for story transform both the teller and the listener?
Well, when you create a space, a platform where people can come and share in community with each other, it's magical, because you may be sitting next to someone you do. When you come to our shows, the buzz that you'll hear before the show even starts, the chatter, the excitement that ripples through the audience before the show even starts. Oh, hi, Linda, I haven't seen you. But my intention was to create a space where people could tell their true and personal stories in public, on stage, so that if they saw one another in a Whole Foods or out there at the soul food place, oh, aren't you Michelle? I heard you at Twisted. How's your dad doing?
Yeah.
So they know you, and the fodder for relationship is already there.
Yes.
And that has happened to me many, many, many times. And it has, from what people tell me, it has happened to them. They have gotten hired from telling a story on our stage. They have gone on to make a film, or to create a cause, or to become spokesperson, or to their confidence was elevated. They get that applause. They said, I haven't slept in 2 days. This is the best experience I ever had. Because who would think that you would get a standing ovation for having lived your life, this particular 15 minutes that you're going to tell about your life? How the audiences rush down to the storyteller. can I have your number? Can I buy your book? Oh my God, this is the same thing that happened to me. It's connection. And that's what it provides, to carving out that space where people can come together in person to hear each other's stories and to commune with each other. Because people will be sitting next to someone they've never met and grab their hand if the story gets tense, or if there's crying, or they look at each other. That's funny. You can come to our shows and leave knowing somebody you never met before.
Yeah, you're talking about a wonderful way to heal the land. It makes us all appear human. You've shared stories on global stages and in intimate community rooms alike.
Yes.
What shifts when the stories are told by us instead of about us?
Oh, it's everything. Because we're the source of the story. We know what it smelled like when we walked in that room.
Right.
We know whether there was yelling or whispering. If the portrait is full. When somebody tells a story about you, and you should know this, Linda and Michelle, that when you're being interviewed, even if the person records the interview, they may say, "Oh, your mother, Sadie." No, she was my stepmother. They'll mix up some facts.
Right.
Because they don't get it right. So for you to be able to say it yourself is very empowering as the storyteller, but it's validating to the listener. And it also is a courageous thing to do, because human beings' number one fear is to speak in public. People rather die.
Yes.
If you can understand that. You probably can't, because you're used to being in public speaking, and
no, it resonates.
It does.
There are many sides to a person besides the hat that they put on, in general on an everyday basis. There's normal life and the things that you experience. So absolutely resonates. And thank you for, clearing that up for us. And I wanted to go to the comments. We have, I don't want to mispronounce your name, but I believe it's Taika Deshawn. They're on YouTube and they're sending up the fire emojis. So whatever we're discussing right now absolutely resonated. So again, touching someone based on the information given is what this platform is all about. Thank you, Tyshawn, for that. Truly appreciate it.
And I want to say one more thing about that.
Absolutely.
Some of our most experienced storytellers, or who are used to being in public, politicians or ministers, they often tell me how their hands were sweating, how nervous they were, because they're telling their own story. And when you step out there and open your mouth, you perceive, or you think that you're being judged. And you may be. People may be going, "Oh, I love her shoes. Oh, they bad. She got some right there." They may judge you. They may judge you as you tell your story. So that's what people are most afraid of. So it takes a lot of courage to tell your story. But at the end of the day, whoever haven't told their story, who's sitting in their seat, has not taken that step. So you can just say, "Well, until you do it, don't judge me."
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And you said a mouthful then, and I truly appreciate you referencing the sweaty hands and the gestures, because sometimes, you get fidgety. I do it myself, and you're sitting here, you're twitching, even now, but on camera, to be fully transparent, my hands are down below, but you get anxious because you're just like, right on my word, or you get anxious to jump to the next question because you're like, "Oh yes, that sounds so right." And so it's all a part of life experiences. So who are we to judge? We all go through, we all have little things about ourselves that we work on daily. And, storytelling is a form of the art that we are able to express it. So I truly appreciate you expounding on that. So what I wanted to focus on is, throughout your experience, how does storytelling function as healing, especially in communities carrying generational memory and unspoken pain.
Yeah.
Well, storytelling is a user-friendly medium. It serves many purposes. But how does it facilitate healing? I can just share, we had a storyteller named Daryl Siggers, who was wrongly accused of murder. Spent 36 years in penitentiary, had given up that he would ever get out until some University of Michigan law student took his case on. And they found the I guess bullets have a like a signature, like a
Right.
DNA, and they proved that he was innocent through that. So after having spent from a young man in his 20s, 36 years, he's in his 50s now, coming out of prison. He's a spokesperson for educating people about the law and their rights.
Right.
But he held no malice.
Mm.
He was forgiving. And I think forgiveness is such an instructive, spiritual act to take, because it's not easy to forgive, especially if you've been so wronged, or what has happened to you is so painful, or all of these things, the anger that you go through, the grief. So for him to be able to demonstrate that on stage was miraculous. We also had a woman who went to prison. She turned herself in because her guilt, because she had gotten off. I mean, she was going to get away with it, but she turned herself in. And when the judge said 30 years, she said she almost fainted. I'm going to be an old woman. But going in, she made a difference with the women in the prison. So you never know, like I said, the twists and turns of your life. It depends on the story you tell about your circumstances. You can be a woe is me victim of your circumstances, or you can create who you're going to be inside your circumstances.
Wow.
And that's the power that we all have as human beings, that our stories can heal us, can lift us out of some dark spaces. Now, I'm not saying it won't take time and it won't take a lot of practice, but we can wake up every morning and sing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day." Or we can go, "Oh, look at that snow." Oh,
You're gonna make me cry on it.
Right.
I'm tearing up here. But you are so right. When you talked about the gentleman sharing his story and what he was experiencing, and even the woman that said, "Hey, I'm going to turn myself in." It was a calling. It was a purpose, even though, oh my gosh, 30 years. And what I'm getting from you sharing both of their journey with us is that this part of the healing is simply because some truths can't be taught. They must be felt.
Or Faith Brown, a woman whose husband murdered their 4 children in front of the 2 of he put the 2 younger ones in the car and gassed them to death, because he said, "Oh, it won't be good to shoot them." But he shot the daughter and the son. And for her to go through and to heal and get counseling and move through life, now she has a nonprofit that she reaches out to women that have gone through these kind of traumas and tragedies to help them. So often when these things happen, we want to support and help other people. But for her to stand on that stage and shake as she told the story and recalled the story, she wrote a book, but to see, now I'm tearing up. But
Yes.
I know, look, you had me from a while
Yes.
back. I'm like, I can't.
But the way that audience came down and embraced her and loved on her and offered their support to her is what community is about. And I do believe that what we're going to need going forward, especially in this particular political climate, this this sudden shift in what it means to be human and what it is to be a citizen and what it is to live here in America. I think that community, big or small, it's going to make the difference.
Absolutely.
That we cannot be alone in this. We have to have a community of people, and we have to share our stories.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that I remember us watching your one woman show on Apple TV.
Yeah. Confessions of a menopausal
Femme fatale. Yep.
It's still available, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Your story about postpartum depression.
Yeah.
People talked to me after that show, after us interviewing you, and then they went and saw the show. A lot of people, particularly men, have been the ones that have said, postpartum depression, that doesn't make sense. See, you're not a man, so you wouldn't know.
Yes.
But it's real.
Yeah.
Story is healing. It has a trickle-down effect. It's like having a wet sponge and going around in a circle, and all the water splashes on your audience because they have to be touched by it.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
This is what will heal the land. I keep saying it.
Yes.
We'll find the humanness in everyone.
The education.
Yes. If you don't know, that's ignorance. That's not a bad thing. You just don't know.
Yes. And we don't tell. Women we don't tell our stories. We shy away from what the natural stages we go through as a female. Our what do you call it? PMS, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause. We tend to hide those things like we do our tampons.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We don't want to share that because we want to present to the male gaze this perfect, beautiful, put together woman. So we hide things and we do a disservice to ourselves and to men who won't ever understand or things make sense because they don't know. They're trying to make sense as a man. And they've never heard of this before.
All right. Our co-sponsor, Carlotta Cole, who I want her to tell her story. She has a magnificent life, a magnificent story to tell. She added, telling your story of your thoughts, feelings, and experiences on how you gain the victory in your situation truly encourages others to heal and move forward.
You got it, Miss Cole.
Yes, absolutely.
And we have another one, if you could read that one.
Yes, from Wendy Lewis. So good to be with you all. Thank you, Linda, for this invite. Storytelling can aid in analysis as well direction.
Yes.
Many times without documentation of our storytelling, historical facts can become waylaid and confused. Her brother has a powerful story. That's very similar to one that you just told us earlier about those that were returning citizens coming out of incarceration. And I've been mentoring him, and I pray that he gets his story told, his story published, the whole gamut. I'm trying to publish mine, trying to get mine written. I remember my sister told me, somebody should write my story. I said, well, no, then it's not your story. It's their story about you. And so they can put anything they want in it.
You're just an extra.
Yeah, you're an extra, right?
Exactly.
You need to be the star of the story. Tell it yourself. And they've got many books that you can begin to tell that story to help guide you through the storytelling process. So as a culture,
let's go back in history when after the enslaved folks entered Jim Crow, and there were people coming to their door to hear their experience of having been enslaved. Well, they would often not tell the truth to white journalists that came, because they didn't trust. But if a black journalist came, they might be more relaxed and tell the truth. or they wouldn't want to say anything. So we've lost a lot of true experience, true truth telling about that period. And if we
Yes.
had that memory that could move forward with us in history,
Mm.
there would be a lot more understanding and a lot less dismissal of that time, because without those stories, without that understanding, you can impose your own narrative, which is what's happening now.
Mm. I
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
The history is being sort of erased and blurred, and there's nothing that can stand up from that time except Frederick Douglass and some writings that were left. But
Mhm.
what if we had that memory intact that could move forward in history? We would not only be proud of ourselves,
Mhm.
we would take pride in our accomplishments. We wouldn't be as ashamed as we are when we see one story of slavery and how, oh yes, a boss, and all
Mhm.
that imposed stuff.
You know, and it's so unfortunate because critical race theory is designed to do just that, to wash it away.
Right.
And then you've got generations much younger than us that are trying to say it never happened.
Yes.
That's baffling to me.
Collective memory.
Just because you weren't there meant that it didn't take place. See?
Just
So-
like they say, some people don't think the Holocaust really happened.
Yeah.
Even after all the documentation with a
And
picture,
all the pictures.
photo, all of the proof, but then you can see how that can occur because January 6th they were just touring.
Yes. Yeah, right. Right. Exactly.
We
Wow.
didn't see them shoot Renee in the face.
Exactly.
She was a radical.
Yeah.
She got what she deserved.
And now we're in a point where we've got so much upheaval, uprise, protesting that's happening in our country today. And I'm just wondering 10 years from now, what would the story look like? What's it going to look like 20 years from now when those people that are out there protesting have great grandchildren? You got to tell the story. You got to make it plain. Write it down and make it plain. And the pen is the eye of the spirit. I keep saying that. The pen is the eye of the spirit. It's you having a conversation with the creator who made you. So when you have that power behind you, once you start writing, and this is what I've learned because you have encouraged me. We've got another guest coming up soon, and she has encouraged me. When you start writing, Michelle has written, she's completed many things, and I'm catching up to all y'all. And I'm probably 150 years older than you, but the importance of telling a story is so necessary.
You're a good-looking 150-year-old. You need to tell that story.
Tell that story, why don't
No Botox, just chicken pox.
Just right. No Botox, just what?
Chicken pox.
I love you, ladies. Oh my
goodness. Listen, I got a question for you so we can stay on task before we start talking on the phone.
So y'all gonna have me tearing up the entire night.
Yeah, if we're not crying, we laughing, right?
Listen, it's always Satori. I'm telling you that brings this out.
She's the one that starts it. See? That's it. As a cultural steward, though, and you are definitely one because you've led so many people, for lack of a better term, to the pulpit or the stage or to whatever, to the confessional, whatever you've done for them. You've touched the lives of multitudes. And as a cultural steward, how do you see storytelling shaping identity, belonging, and resilience? How do you see that? We've talked about some of these things already, but I see something coming from it that's maybe even deeper than that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think storytelling puts it harnesses identity. It
Mhm.
harnesses these things. It puts a context around the thing so you can hold it. You know, it's not what do you call it? It's not it's not ethers. There's a solid context around it. So you use storytelling to shape your identity, to
Yes.
validate your identity, and to document your growth. Because identity is not like a rock that it's there. It expands.
So
Mhm.
true.
It's malleable,
Yes.
but there's a foundation on which it rests. And then when you can embrace your identity, the good and the bad, and you can just say, I'm human. And this is what I learned. And this is what I'm going to share with you about what I learned. It's an amazing thing. So here in Detroit, they have the Kresge Awards, right?
Mhm.
And when I applied, they give you a certain amount of money. There's no requirement for it. You just have to submit your application and show how your discipline makes a difference. When I applied, there was no category for storytelling. There was spoken word, poetry, and all the rest of the arts. But I found that curious because storytelling is perhaps the oldest art form. So I called, I said, is it okay for storytelling to be a category? Oh, yes. So I was the first person in 2017 to win the Kresge Award, one of the awards in literary arts, as a storyteller in 2017. In 2018, Dwight Stackhouse won it in storytelling, and he told about 4 stories on our stage, which he submitted in his application, and he won. Now, storytelling is a permanent category with the Kresge Foundation.
Yeah.
Yes.
We didn't even hear the word storytelling
Before then.
back in 2012 when I first started this. I had to make videos to show people what it looked like. And now everything is storytelling, which everything is.
I
Yes.
love
But
it.
how it could be buried in the talking heads and the representatives on the news who know nothing about us or our communities, or they select what they're going to talk about. They don't shed light on stories that are important and that are told. So we get to do that. We get to become advocates and journalists of our neighborhood, of our organizations, of what we're up to. So I think that it makes sense to learn how to tell your own story, which is why I learned I have to teach people how to tell their story, and discovered how much I love doing that. I'm going to be facilitating a workshop on Friday at the Mike Ilitch School of Business for their master's students. And it just edifies me to show people how to tell their stories for all the different reasons people come to me for that to happen, to advocate in front of Congress, to make documentaries about maternal mortality in Detroit, where there are high numbers because of implicit bias.
Right.
Of all of how you need to take your experience and put it in a compelling story, so you can give it and people can feel it and shed tears like Michelle, and then have empathy and maybe make changes. After I was at the Michigan Women's Commission in 2023 to talk about menopause, they took on the initiative of going around the state talking about menopause because so many people responded to that particular event. Then Barry came here, the governor, which I met them both. And now the governor, I just got a proclamation from Governor Whitmer that declares October 18th World Menopause Day.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Somehow you can trace where you made a difference, where you may have been a spark, a catalyst for something that was good, that somebody else with a bigger platform, a bigger voice, the compassion to take it bigger and further. You know?
So true. And I love that, because that leads into my train of thought for what I want to ask you. And before I do that, Wendy Lewis said the fabric of storytelling gives way to the value of the lived experience. And she wants to let you guys know she's from Detroit also. So
All right. Well, Wendy Lewis, were you a journalist on TV?
I'm not
because she writes. I mean, her what she's writing in the
Yes.
chat it sounds like she's a writer,
exactly.
and she succinctly. I mean, you could just quote her, right?
right.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I said. So I'm just like, she's either done some journalism or something. Like,
Yeah.
Yep, I picked up on
and
that.
her
I love
brother,
that.
her brother Charles Lewis
Mhm.
was incarcerated for many, many years in Detroit, and he was released from his mother's efforts of appeal. Right before she passed, he was released, if I'm not mistaken. His name is Charles Lewis. We're both trying to get him to tell his story and get it out there in a way that I think he should really think about creating a video of it, telling the story. And that's why I wanted to ask you, are you considering doing an online story class?
Before we pushed into that, I wanted to finish with Wendy and the train of thought before we get into that.
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Wendy did answer, and she said, "One time I am." So we knew it. Look, listen.
Yeah.
It's the energy.
Yeah.
We
feel you. We see you.
We see you, Wendy. We see you. And welcome to Star. Welcome. But before we talk about the workshop, I think this is an important question that can help people and lead them to booking this workshop. Is to talk about what happens to individuals and to societies when stories are silenced, like you mentioned, when they try to water down certain things or twist it in their own way, like you said it on the news or television, or if it's rushed or simply commodified. So what happens to the individuals and society when that happens?
We don't benefit from a lot of wisdom. It's like when you think of a genocide or somebody passing away, and they often say when somebody passes away, it's like burning a library. Or what you don't know that you don't know is that that you don't have the benefit of that person's voice, their lived experience. When I went back to Wayne State in 2008, I took a history class where I had to do my genealogy. And so I had the opportunity to interview my aunt, who at the time was like 103, but very sharp. So I had the opportunity to learn about my grandfather, who was born in 1875, and hear her stories. And then hear this other stories about how one of the children was a child of the enslaved person, the owner. And so he took that son with him and his other two sons to England, but the son was a valet, but he'd educated that son. And so that whole line on my mother's side, they were very educated. And then on my grandfather's side, they were sharecroppers, pick cotton. And so, So I had and then I looked at records and saw that my father lied about his age so that he could be in World War I. He said he was born in 1899. He was really born in 1900. And so you can extrapolate stories just from that. He wanted to earn money. So like we lie on our birth certificate, or we lie about our age when we're trying to get in the club. I'm trying to get into World War I.
Right.
17, I want to be 18.
Yeah, that's something.
Or how both sides of the Magruders fought for the Confederates and for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
But then you think about we're fighting for the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That just speaks to the truth that healing is personal, but memory is collective. All of
Yes,
that is so powerful.
yes.
Yeah.
And we know, and our memories aren't aren't perfect and accurate.
Mm-mm.
So
Yep.
there's some things we fill in.
Embellish. Yeah.
We fill in, or we embellish, or we say, I don't really remember. I don't remember the month, but I
Mhm.
do remember that there was snow on the ground.
Mhm.
Or I don't remember her name, but she made such a difference in my life. So
Mm.
our brains aren't wired to remember everything. It's wired to have memories of that, which can remind us of what we did to overcome that.
Mhm.
Right.
It gives us a reference point,
Mhm.
but we can't remember everything.
Right.
Right.
We remember the important, what we consider important, or the things that make a difference. Or sometimes when I'm working with storytellers, then they tell me their stories. As I work with them and ask them questions to develop the story. Oh, when you saying that, okay, it's coming back.
It
And then they
clicks.
go
Yep.
away and look on their
The
story.
light bulb comes on.
Yeah.
That light bulb says, "Ding! I
Yeah,
remember now." Oh my
yeah.
goodness, so true.
Or I
I love
forgot
that.
that. Oh, and this is
Yes.
important. Yeah, and I invite everyone to revisit those stories that you have just left,
Mhm.
Yes.
left in certain stages of your life, and see if they're still true for you now. My story at 10 about my uncle is definitely not the same story I have about my uncle now.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's-
I didn't like my uncle. He was a minister. He was mean. He loved belt. Children should be seen and not heard. And
mm,
now looking back, I see what a brilliant man he was.
right.
Filmmaker. He was a minister, had a big church, lots of respect within inside the congregation. But when he walked outside of his house into the world, he was a nigger, a boy. So now
Mm,
I could understand from
Mhm.
watching Fences with Denzel Washington
mm.
why he's so angry and
Oh,
why he was expressing that
mm.
anger and what he considers a
Better
safe.
come on. You better speak
And,
on it.
Yes.
Yes.
but
So
Yeah.
not to
true.
condone that he spilled it onto. Uh,
Right. Because it still remains
yeah,
generational
yes,
trauma and things of that nature. And that's why it's so important for these stories to be told because
yes,
again when you hear it it resonates and you're like the light bulb as we just referenced it clicks and you're like that is exactly what happened and it's like we mentioned it's a part of us telling our story this is our history
mhm,
this is our story and the way it needs to be told so when we think about the practical wisdom behind the art of storytelling for someone who feels pulled to tell their story but fears being seen or shunned or hushed or "Ugh, you don't matter type scarcity memory anyway what would you offer them or how would you
I offer them understanding and patience. I have a woman that's coming to tell her story in February, and she said, "I've been wanting to do this for 3 years." But then I was talking to my friend and said, "You've got to do it." So sometimes people have to encourage you to do it. And other times there's a need, a compelling need.
Mhm.
Or I want to tell this story about my mother before she passes away,
Mhm.
or whatever it is. But I say have patience with that person. But I always, when I ask somebody, come tell a story, come on, tell a story. Okay, let me think about it. You just be thinking.
Mhm.
And then the next year will happen, you'll be thinking. It is to do. Just do it. I'm here.
Mhm.
I'm here. I got your hand. I got your back.
Right. Right.
And then when I deliver you to the stage, to the audience, they got it. And so they really don't trust it till that audience starts going, you go ahead, girl. You go ahead. Take your time, son.
Right.
Yeah. And then they want to tell their story. I want to tell another story.
Yeah. What we are moving through our interview with you, and we want to honor every aspect of what you're saying here this evening. What practices help you remain grounded while holding space for so many voices? What keeps you grounded?
I think that having my husband as a support for me, for having met so many people in the community, for my sister, for my family, for my friends, that keeps me grounded. But also knowing that this is my calling, this is my purpose, and so therefore, it's my responsibility and accountability. And that keeps me grounded, because when I do what I'm called to do, I always have a sense of benefit, because I am being of service. Just being of service grounds me. It comes back tenfold. Oh yeah, I saw you here, or so and so recommend that I talk to you about teaching. Well, our class, I did storytelling for the students, for international students at U of M coming in for their first year of college. They came to the show on colorism in September. So Wayne State, my Illich School of Business. Well, why should the University of Dearborn be the only ones that get the privilege of? We want you to come tell a story with Wayne State,
right?
So they see the impact, and then they want to have, yeah.
Well, before we close, what truth would you like our listeners to carry with them into their bodies and their families and their communities? What truth? And you've probably said a lot of this already, but is there anything in particular that you want our listeners to have in their gut as they move forward through their storytelling process?
I love that question. Great question.
Your story, your stories, and storytelling is your superpower.
That's it.
She said, "That's it. That's all."
Storytelling is not spectacle.
No,
it is courage, remembrance, and the quiet act of reclaiming voice.
Yes, because the moment you tell your story, you create a community.
Very true. And when stories are spoken with truth and held with care, they don't just change narratives, they change lives.
Yes. Right. You got it.
Yes. Well, guys, we are truly grateful for you all tuning in. Such a powerful interview again with the amazing Satori Shakoor, who we have the pleasure of calling Sister Friend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys are so brilliant. It's such a joy to just be in conversation with you without having to think. Just have this moment of communion together. I'm so glad that you have this platform, and that you're bringing such a diverse group of people on. So you're really a school.
Yeah. Well, definitely think about doing an online class so I can take it.
I know that's right. Look, I'll be there.
Yes.
Look, and we're still waiting for our Atlanta chapter.
Yes.
And it's coming soon.
Linda and I have had conversations, so
yeah,
I'm ready and available. And anytime you want to get it on, let's get it on.
Yeah, let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Look, I'm so ready. Well, guys, you heard it here again for the second time, and even more amplified,
Yes.
where it can resonate with you to understand that this is your superpower, telling your story and helping others to realize that, hey, I could do this as well. And it is a process of true healing because it's coming from the inside out.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I'm Michelle Diamond.
And I'm Linda Boston.
Until next time,
stay grounded.
Stay open.
And keep expanding your infinite perspectives.
Because with the infinite perspectives, you have infinite possibilities.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You better preach.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
I love you.
How you gonna change the things around you? Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation?